we're walking into this debate. The bar is already set so low for Biden. If he gives coherent sentences, he wins. And Trump walks in at a disadvantage because the media is going to look at any little thing to blow up and make it look like he's the maniac dictator that he claims to be.
I know that there's the conventional wisdom that holds that RFK Jr. would be more damaging to Trump. I've heard that a lot. I don't get that, frankly. To me, you would have, if he showed up on this stage, and I think CNN would hate it, you would have Donald Trump and RFK effectively highlighting the failed leadership of Joe Biden at the same time. And they can't have that.
It just seems like that RFK of a year ago is not the RFK today, and it's more a threat to Biden than it ever was for Trump. It feels like there's been some movement of the actual independent followers where they started kind of in this no vaccine, keep our schools open, don't trust crazy bureaucrats, look at the science, to now like a full-fledged attack on Biden because he's literally pulling from the liberal base. I don't think the Dems really know what to do about that, and they can't really do anything other than ban RFK.
All right, welcome to the show. Today is the longest day of the year. It is the summer solstice, but we've got a lot to pack into the show. Hilton Beckham from America First is here with us. Jessica Anderson, she is the president of the Sentinel Action Fund. She is with us. And Chris Stigall of the Chris Stigall Show is with us as well. By the way, tomorrow, Donald J. Trump will join us. My extended, unedited interview with him from the documentary that I'm about to announce. I'm going to show you that in just a minute, but make sure you're hitting that notification button now. We are going to want to do it. We're going to break down the debate, Veep, Steaks, and tipping. Is it a good issue or not? Before I get into it, I've got a tip for you. Get a Patriot Power Generator 2000X right now. Go to 4patriots.com/Spicer. Get that now, because you don't know when something's going to go sideways. A power outage, an attack on the grid. You don't know when it's going to come. I have one. I can literally see it from right here. It's over there. I know I'm prepared. I can run my refrigerator. I can run medical devices, computers, you name it. I can take care of all of it, and it doesn't take gas. That's right. It comes with a solar panel free with it. So you don't have to run out to the gas station or hope that the gas station is open and then time it all out. Nope. The Patriot Power Generator 2000X comes with all of it. It runs off the solar panel for hours on end, powers the most powerful things in your house, your refrigerator, your computer, all that. And you don't have to worry about fumes or gassing it up or loud noise. You can bring it in your house completely portable. Check it out now. Go to 4patriots.com/Spicer. and get the Patriot Power Generator 2000X so that you are prepared in time of emergency. And remember, it's not just you. It could be a family member, a friend. 4patriots.com/Spicer. Let's get into it with the panel. All right, gang, good to see you all. Before we get going, a point of personal privilege. This is the beautiful thing about it being the Sean Spicer Show. I want to show you tomorrow, big announcement. I've been alluding to this. Passion project of mine. 2 years we've been following Trump supporters. Tomorrow, our brand new documentary releases on Salem, salemnow.com. It's available at frontrowjoes.movie, not .com, .movie, because we're pretty hip and cool with our URLs these days. I want to play you the trailer for it. It's only 55 seconds, and then take a look. Here we go.
From the backbone of the greatest political movement ever, the Front Row Joes. The foundation of the Trump faith. Who are they?
You had to love the United States of America, and you had to love Mr. Donald Trump and support Mr. Donald Trump's re-election.
And where do they go next? For the first time ever, a behind-the-scenes look into the energy that's changing the world. With Stephen K. Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Donald J. Trump.
They're incredible people, and the Front Row Joes are, in a certain way, I guess they're very successful people.
USA! USA! Friendships I've made over the years as a Front Row Joe, it's probably the best part of it.
Go to frontrowjoes.movie to experience the movement.
The kind of basis for all the rallies, and they've been, there's like dead fans.
Chris Stigall, do you think that's amazing or just awesome?
Well, anything you touch turns to gold. Sure, it's awesome. I will say I'm excited to see it. Having just come from the Trump Wildwood rally and seen some of these people, it's fantastic. Nobody's profiled them before. I can't wait to see it. Really?
Yeah, thank you. That was the idea, Jessica. It was like the media looks at a lot of these people in Trump world as like animals in a zoo, like, hey, maybe we should go pet them. And yet these are people that you meet in the documentary that have gone to 15, 20, 30 rallies.
Yeah, I love it. This is the exact story to tell because the voters that are going to make up the bulk of who we need to turn out in November are at these Trump rallies. They're in their communities, they're organizing, they're actually involved still, and putting a face with the name, get us out of just looking at polling numbers and talking to the real people behind the candidate is awesome. So I look forward to watching too.
Thank you. Hilton, you were on the campaign last time. I always felt one of the things that I wanted to show people was the media isn't going to show you these people. They're not going to profile them in any kind of glossy spread. They're not going to put them on television. And there's a lack of understanding as to who these people are. It's not Trump supporters. These are the super supporters. You heard Bannon at the end. Trump actually says it in the documentary during that interview we had with him. That these are like rock fans that go to see a show over and over again because there's that into the Trump movement.
Yeah, but I think you hit it right on the head when you said that they always paint these people out to be crazy. And like, it's cool to see the actual inside look of it. And the media obviously is not going to give them a fair shake. They're not ever going to really dive into what they're really believe in. So I think it's really cool that you've gone to not just the fans of Trump, but the MAGA fans of Trump.
Yeah, Chris Stigall, let's get into the other stories and issues of the week. This debate, we are now officially a week out. The word now is that, speaking of officially a week out, RFK is officially out. They are saying, CNN, that he is not officially on the ballot in enough states to get to 270. Obviously, the RFK argument is, yeah, no kidding, because they don't certify that many states at this point. But he's saying, hey, look, technically, neither are Biden or Trump. Is this just an inside baseball discussion that we're having, or was anyone going to care?
Well, I think in terms of the campaigns, they care deeply, specifically Joe Biden. I know that there's the conventional wisdom that holds that RFK Jr. would be more damaging to Trump. I've heard that a lot. I don't get that, frankly. To me, you would have, if he showed up on this stage, and I think CNN would hate it, you would have Donald Trump and RFK effectively highlighting the failed leadership of Joe Biden at the same time. And they can't have that. So it'll be Dana and Jake handling that and cutting Trump's mic off. No audience, I find interesting. I'm glad Trump's doing it. I'm leery of it. I'm still not particularly excited about it, if I'm going to be wholly honest, because I don't like the deck stacked. The controlled mics, the no crowd, Dana and Jake driving it. It feels stacked. Not that Trump can't handle it. It just feels stacked.
Jessica, all that being said, Chris just enumerated all of the things that stack that deck against Trump. I don't know. Do you think that really is ultimately going to be a detriment to him, or will he take advantage of some of these things?
So I am so excited for Thursday. I got to tell you, Stein, I haven't been excited about a debate in quite some time. I honestly, like, this is going to be everything that we could want to see, because Joe Biden can he not only like not put sentences together, he can't remember names, he can't remember facts, he has problems walking, like he's not going to have any props. And so I think President Trump would be wise to showcase how spry he is. Obviously they're both older, but the mental capacity of Biden can't hold up for this long of a debate, and it can't hold up with Trump's wit and I think pithy remarks. And as soon as they get into policy, Trump is going to lead the day, because the Biden campaign and Biden himself, they have nothing really to talk about. They can't talk about the economy. They can't talk about securing the border. They can't talk about schools. They certainly can't talk about national security or safety and security in our neighborhoods either. So I think this is going to be a really good one. I'm actually kind of pleased that it's this early. I think they could have fought to have it be later in the year. And I think that would have made a mistake with so many voters now utilizing early vote and absentee. Like, people are going to vote way earlier. And so getting the candidates face to face, reminding everyone how much they love Trump and what he did for our economy is going to be awesome. So I think he leans in and I think he'll be the winner on next week's show.
Okay. That's actually, I love that already. Hilton, who's got more to lose?
Ooh. I honestly think Trump. I think it's always going to be rigged against Trump. Look, we're walking into this debate. The bar is already set so low for Biden. If he gives coherent sentences, he wins. And Trump walks in at a disadvantage because the media is going to look at any little thing to blow up and make it look like he's the maniac dictator that he claims to be. So I honestly, I want to say that Trump's going to go in and win, but like Biden for the State of the Union didn't do half bad, even though we all know he was super juiced up.
He was on
drugs.
drugs.
Whatever. He was on drugs, but they worked. They definitely worked. Biden just has to go in there. I mean, he's going to lie. He's going to say the economy's doing great and that people love him, blah, blah, blah. We all know that he's just going to lie his way through. But he has two moderators that are going to, and also this is question two. Have the moderators maybe fed the Biden campaign some questions beforehand, like what happened in 2015, 2016 with Hillary Clinton? How is CNN possibly supporting Biden going into this debate? So I don't know. I would be more worried for Trump and making sure that he really got his soundbite out and he really got those clippable moments than I would be worried about Biden, because I feel like he's going to be handheld through the debate.
And could I just jump in and add that I think we also have to be careful not to get too aggressive. Trump's going to be Trump and do what he wants, but if he comes out hot and starts hitting him as the doddering old fool that we all know he is, and that's justified to say, and Trump's got a lot of axes he could be grinding, but I think if he comes in too hot, that's all we'll hear about. He was so mean.
And I almost am okay with them muting mics. I do agree that Trump, his best moments are sometimes riffing and like going and, just hitting back at Biden. But I do think muting it and letting Trump simmer and kind of maybe think about a response before he just, flies off the belt is going to be a good.
All right, folks, sorry to interrupt this conversation, but I want to tell you about my friends at Bishop Gold. And if you go to bishopgoldgroup.com/Sean, bishopgoldgroup.com/Sean, they can help you with your investment strategy. Now, you get hit up all the time. I get it. I see it all over the place. Radio, digital, TV ads, advertising, gold and precious metals. I had a decision. I wanted to get into the market. I realized I wanted to diversify my account. Now, maybe you just want to diversify, or maybe you have a 401k or an old IRA that you want to bring into the fold here and diversify and get into precious metals. That's why I went with my friends at Bishop Gold Group, because they've got integrity, they've got experience, they can help you with a conversation to decide what's best for you. And they will answer all of your questions like they did for me. When I had to make a decision who I wanted to invest my money with, I went with Bishop Gold Group. So go to bishopgoldgroup.com/Sean. And here's the cool part. I mean, nowhere else in the Biden economy you're going to hear this. You get a free gift right now if you do that. So of all the things, I mean, this is like a gift to you, right? Go to bishopgoldgroup.com/Sean and you will start your journey with precious metals like I did with Bishop Gold Group. Thanks a lot. Let's get back to the conversation. Jessica, Chris talks about, and Hilton both talked about the bar setting, right? The New York Times is out with a story. It says the Biden bar. Trump tries to set expectations and floats excuses for his debate with Biden. The former president has set a low bar for President Biden's performance at next week's matchup. Now he's preparing supporters for the possibility that Mr. Biden clears it. This is something that I've been warning about for a while, Jessica Anderson, that basically they made it sound like if he shows up and starts talking and speaks in English, that he clears the bar. And we forget that he spent decades in the Senate as a debater. I wonder, to Hilton's point about the moderators, they're going to help talk about how well he did if he just exists. Do you think the Trump team is too late on the recalibrating the expectations?
No, y'all are way too down on this. Like, I just got to say, Trump has been chomping at the bit to talk to the American people at this high of a profile, coming after the conviction and the verdict and all the time in New York. Like this, I know he can't talk about that. And I know that actually is a real complication here, but I think Trump is going to surprise everybody because he's coming off of awesome rallies. He's got enthusiasm at his back. the support on the ground, I mean, we've been already going door to door in these battleground states, and the support at the ground is through the roof. It's unlike anything that we would have seen in 2020. I'm telling you, Sean. And so I think this is actually going to be a moment where he rises to the occasion. He talks about the policy. He asks, is your life better today than it was 6 or 8 years ago? Spoiler alert, it's not. And he's going to, I think, hit on everything that Biden has no answers for. So yeah, maybe the bar is like, if Biden can show up, but honestly, like, he's not even really walking that great. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's kind of just like shuffling right now. And so is the bar that he's just alive? This is the president of the United States. The bar has to be that he can articulate a vision for what America is to be. And it can't just be not Trump, right? That's the problem right now.
So can I just ask, I don't want to get off topic. I want to stay on this debate, but you mentioned going out there and doing door to door. Are you finding people who might not have been with Trump are with him, or that the base is more fired up?
No, the former. Our program looks specifically at low propensity voters. So these are non-habitual voters. They're registered Republicans, but they haven't voted consistently the last 4 elections, which means they might have missed 2020 or not been enthusiastic about 2016. That group of people is giving Trump a second look. And that's a big deal because these are largely in very rural communities. They're not in major city markets. We call them like the last mile voter. They're way outside the last mile of a city, last mile of distribution. They're not really plugged in. They don't watch the news. They probably don't watch your show, Sean. I'm so sorry. But they know what's going on because of the verdict.
Do you tell them, though? Do you tell them when you interact with them, Jessica? Do you say, "Hey, here's where you should be watching"? Is that should be part of the script?
All
there.
your news from Sean Spicer. Always, it's on our palm card,
Sean. Hilton, we talk about Mike's on and off. Jessica is alluding to, first of all, for the record, I think Trump's going to come out the winner on this. He understands how to show up, quote unquote, better than anyone. I've seen it. I've been in the room with him. When it's time to go, he goes, and he understands how important this moment is. I am with Jessica Anderson on this. I believe the Trump that needs to show up will show up. That being said, Hilton, we talk about the rules. We talk about the moments. If you think back through history, right, about big debates, Ronald Reagan, I paid for that mic, Trump telling Hillary Clinton, I would lock you up or you'd be in jail. There are all those quick, quippy moments. And that's for so many people. I mean, Jessica's talking about low propensity voters, people who don't watch the news every day. That's how a lot of people will get their news. Is they'll say, I saw a clip on TikTok, unfortunately, or on social media, or the news media played this 2-second clip. That I definitely think benefits Trump, right?
Oh, 100%. I just read an article about this morning. The debate's going to be won by whoever has the most clippable moment, the one that can grab people's attention when you're just scrolling through Instagram, you're scrolling through TikTok. With Trump, we've seen him in the 2015, 2016 debates. I mean, he was iconic. People remember him. That's when he really broke out into the field. His one-liners, him like really throwing politics on top of its head and not caring about, the rules and being polite and speaking nicely. Like he just really went in there and took shots, and that's why people loved him. So I can see him doing that at this debate 100%, but are those moments mostly done when his mic is going to be muted? Are people going to be able to catch that? Like it's these rules are really going to, maybe play favor, not play favorites with Trump.
To Hilton's point, I'm sorry to interrupt. I would just say not only that, but I also this is not doubting Trump. I want to be clear, and I didn't want to give
100%.
Like I'm not.
I
down.
know we all love it. I first of all, I agree with that. We're all on the same team. It's just sort of giving advice to someone you love.
He's just automatically coming at a disadvantage because of the media. That's the problem.
That's the thing. Dana Bash and Jake, we're in a new world. We're in a new universe now where these anchors feel it's incumbent upon them to jump in and say, I need to fact check you, Mr. President. I'm the arbiter of truth here, and I need to tell you why you're wrong. We didn't used to do that. Candy Crowley kind of invited that in. And so we're in this place now where he's debating 3 people, not just one. And that's what my problem is.
I agree. No, Chris, I'm so glad you brought that up. I talk about this all the time after the Sunday shows, where Kristen Welker is the queen at this right now, followed by Margaret Brennan. And even on ABC, John Carl is classic at doing this, where the Republican guest will make a point and they'll say, That's not true. There's no evidence of that. They never do it with Democrats. And frankly, it's not true. There is always evidence. They just don't agree with it or like it. But Chris Stigall, let me ask you a question tactically. I am of the mind that Trump wins, to quote a Democratic operative from Politico the other day, every day of the week and twice on Sunday if he sticks to the issues and his record versus Biden. How tempting will it be for him to talk about Hunter?
You know what? I just talked with Laura Trump today about
Name
this very
dropper.
thing.
Name dropper.
Like you wouldn't. You'd drop us all in a minute if you got Laura. Come on, be honest.
By the way,
fact
tomorrow, President Trump himself will be on the show. So I
See,
take
that's
for Laura Trump and raise you
By
a
the
Donald
way,
J. Trump.
that's pretty. You pump a film right off the top of your show and then tell me I'm dropped. Okay, but anyway,
I'll be on the
here's
Chris
my
Stigall
point
show
about-
tomorrow morning, by the way. For those.
Thank you. Yeah, you'll be on my show. But anyway, the point about this is Trump is coming into places like Detroit. He's going to be in Philadelphia this weekend. He's going into these blue cities, and he's speaking to the issues. When Hunter has come up, interestingly, and this is what I was talking to Laura about this morning, he sounded actually kind of compassionate and softer. And I actually think that's the play. He's managed to sound avuncular and kind of soft in the midst of massive legal persecution and lawfare against him. And I find it kind of remarkable. He's contemplative. He's of good cheer. He's a little softer. And I think it actually really works. Yes, he will stick to the issues. I don't think he's going to attack Hunter.
Jessica, the attention surrounding third-party candidates is focused on RFK in or out. Jill Stein did an interview with Scripps News. She filed an FEC complaint over the exclusion of her from these debates. She's obviously the Green Party candidate. I'm pro Jill Stein getting in every debate because the better the Green Party does, the better we do.
Who's Jill Stein?
Oh, come on. She's the Green. Look, she's the Green Party candidate. She was the nominee in 2016. I don't think Trump would have won Michigan without her. She took 50,000 votes. Trump won by 10,703, right? I think that we want the Green Party to be doing well.
Yeah. No, look, that's a by the numbers analysis, and it's totally right for Michigan. No Labels tried to actually flip this on its head and them trying to get on the ballot in places like Arizona so that they could lean in for Biden. And so I think the spoiler alert of the third party candidate is definitely real. My take on RFK though, Sean, I'm curious if you agree with this. Like, I feel like RFK 10 months ago, a year ago, was more like hitting the conservative mom that was upset about vaccines and schools and like, you know, kind of the House and Habit type follower. Like there was interest there. And then now I'm totally where Chris is. Like, it just seems like that RFK of a year ago is not the RFK today. And it's more a threat to Biden than it ever was for Trump. It feels like there's been some movement of the actual independent followers where they started kind of in this no vaccine, keep our schools open, don't trust crazy bureaucrats, look at the science, to now like a full-fledged attack on Biden because he's literally pulling from the liberal base. And that's interesting because I don't think the Dems really like know what to do about that, and they can't really do anything other than ban RFK.
Yeah, I think to your question, what do I think? I think it'll depend on the state because some states he'll do better than others. But I also think I agree with you. It's almost like he faded. When no one had to make a decision, it was like, oh, I like some of the stuff he's saying. As the election has come more into focus, people are like, so if I don't vote for him, it may help Trump, it may not. I don't want to take a chance. I'm with Trump, right? He's forced people to take a side because it was cute. It was cute for a while and the moment is over and his moment is done. Hilton, I want to pivot though to an issue. I mean, Chris talked about some of the rallies and some of the issues he's been bringing up. Well, he was in Nevada and he brought up this big issue of tipping. You've seen now members of the House, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Tom Massey said, hey, we're going to introduce legislation on the House side. Senate, Steve Daines says he's going to introduce it. I think Ted Cruz said it as well. Excuse me. Here's my question. Do you think this tipping tax exclusion issue that Trump is bringing up is a smart issue that will gain him votes?
I mean, I personally do, as a former waitress myself. If a president came in, I don't care who it was, and said, "Hey, we're not going to tax your tips," I would have voted for him in a heartbeat as an 18-year-old. So no, I think it was a huge move for the young population, that, the college students. I mean, that's a huge thing, especially in today's economy. He's making it personable for the young people. Like, hey, those tips that you get and that you hate clocking in at the end of the day, forget about it. It's all yours. I mean, I think it's a huge thing, but I don't know. I need to study this a little bit more, but I think there might be some negative side effects to that. And if I was an economic expert, I'd tell you, but I think it's a huge plus.
Well, you're blowing about $150 billion in revenue that would be coming to the government.
Yeah.
Again, that's the liberal argument. They want more tax dollars. Chris Stigall, I think, to Hilton's point, it might play well with young people, but I think for a lot of waiters and waitresses, Nevada is a service state, right? A lot of casino employees that get tipped out, hotel workers, professional bartenders. I mean, I know a lot of people who work at nice restaurants that make a very, very good living of doing this. Do you think, getting back to the question, is this a good campaign idea?
Well, here's an anecdotal story for you. My 19-year-old son, who waits tables, called me when he heard it. Independently called me and said, "Did you hear what Trump said about tips?" I said, I did. And then he asks me this, because he's a good student. He said, "But he can't do that by himself, can he?" And I said, "No, he can't. He needs Congress's help." But that's the point. Not only was this a brilliant strategic thing to bring up for him and to advocate, but he gave every member of Congress or candidates running an issue, a real issue, a like talking turkey issue to go back to their respective districts and states and talk about and advocate right along with him. Something real that's tangible to a lot of people in an inflated economy. I love this maybe more than just about anything in recent history that Trump's done.
This harkens back. I don't know how many of you, like in Virginia back in the day, Governor Jim Gilmore ran on no car tax, and people were pissed about having to pay this annual tax on their car. And he said, "Hey, if I get elected," and that's all, the sign said, "Vote Gilmore, no car tax." And that, no question about it, put him over the top. Jessica, from a policy standpoint, though, look, this is my default. I keep thinking every dude on K Street, non-gender specific, I'm gender neutral on this hit, is thinking to themselves, great, I'm now going to get paid in tips. And they're already trying to figure out how to manipulate it so that everything is a tip, not a salary.
Yeah, I think this is a pure political move. I'm not sure that this is like an actual policy with teeth. This is strategic and wicked smart on Trump's behalf to do it in Nevada. The culinary unions, we know, drive turnout in that state in a major way. You look at the numbers from Laxalt's Senate race in particular, and you know that we have very slim margins to win in that state, both for the Senate candidate, Sam Brown, and for the presidential. He did it there. He did it as a nod to the culinary union, which is the largest union in the state, responsible for a very robust ground game effort for the Democrats. He is trying to chip away at that voting bloc. I mean, I agree members of Congress are hustling to get some policy proposals together. But I think this is much more of like a political juggernaut. I actually put it in the same bucket as his decision to get on TikTok. Like, he kind of put the policy over here. Like, he started the war and the fight against TikTok and the national security concerns. I think he's going to finish that when he's back in the Oval Office, for the record. He's the best one to do that, but he understands that moving on to TikTok gets him an audience with voters he needs. This is the same sort of strategic plays I think he's going to keep doing all summer.
Yeah, it's a very populist move. And I think if he does get into office, he will pass it because they can't say no. But I will my guess is two things. Number one, I think that they'll cap it. They'll say you can get $20,000 in tips or something, because otherwise, like I said, every person on K Street is going to figure some loophole out where you get paid as a tip, not this. But to your point about the culinary union, I was thinking as you were talking, Jessica, that you can't imagine the leadership of these unions, their heads must blow, where they're like, do not listen to Trump. Do not listen to Trump, because they know how attractive this is to their members. And they are like, but we've already pledged our love and loyalty to Mr. Joe Biden. And the leadership's got to hate this stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you know what? There was this article written in I think it was 2016. It was in the Atlantic of all places, but it's always stayed with me because it compared, and I forget the author is, it's a terrible anecdote. I'm sorry, Sean. But the point of the article was that it compared the union boss to Hillary in the pantsuit that doesn't connect. Whereas the union worker is Trump, someone they aspire to be. The wealth that looks so unattainable, but it's aspirational, not the union boss that's yelling at me in my pantsuit. And I love that analogy. And I actually think this is Trump now, to go back to your very first opener of this. The reason I'm excited about the debate, the reason I'm excited about this campaign effort is because this is Trump of 2016. Yep. He does best when his back is against the wall, when everyone is up, yelling at him. Now he's got the lawsuits. Like, this is when he thrives. And this is when people are like, that's how I feel. I feel like the world's against me and I can relate to this guy. And that's where I think it's a different campaign this time.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. And that's the thing, is that he because of his background, because he worked in restaurants and golf clubs and hotels, he understands the needs and thoughts of average everyday workers in a way that nobody else gets. So you're absolutely right.
Here's an important point. He likes people. I mean, Sean, you've seen him in action when he's with people. For heaven's sakes, he welcomes them into the Oval. He doesn't look at this as his, me, mine, I'm up here, I'm above. Right. He really likes people, and people like him and want to be around him, and he gets energy from people versus the political class that have utter contempt for most of us. Fauci, who, again, this week on a book tour called us, that he was leading us in a MAGA cult. They constantly refer to us as cultists, mind-numbed idiots. He likes people, and that can't be underscored enough. The phrase cult comes up several times in the documentary Front Row Joe's movie. It's because of that, because they do. By the way, Fauci's like, I'm not saying bad things about them, but they're kind of like a cult. They're horrible. I mean, deplorable. That's Fauci. They sort of like tolerate you. Hilton, before we leave the tip issue, I want to flip this on all of us real quick. It's a good campaign issue. Trump will follow through on it. We've all said that. As a consumer, do you want more tipping, though?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold
on. Let me explain myself. Hold on. Okay. The tipping, completely out of hand, 100%. My rule is, if I have to walk up and go up to the counter and pay for it and everything, I'm not going to tip. If I'm seated and you're giving me good service and, when I was a waitress, I worked for that tip. I was hustling. We were all about customer service, making sure the customer's super happy, got fast, speedy service. I deserved that tip at the end of the meal. When you just stand there and take my order and press a few buttons and say, thank you, have a nice day. No, I'm not giving you a tip for that. Anybody could do that. So tipping has got out of hand, but tipping, I think you should tip very well for people who earn it.
All right,
and furthermore,
hold on, Chris Stigall, are you as cheap as hell? What do you?
Not cheap, but I give little tips to the people at the counter, but not the big ones.
I just feel like they're standing there. They're like this. They've got it over and they turn it to you and they're like, here, hit a button. And then they look at you and I'm like, stop looking at the button. But they want to know.
I recently had an experience doing that and the guy told me how much to tip. He said, tip, do it 10. And I was like, excuse me? You don't know what to do in the moment. It's gotten out of hand.
You said, Mr. Stigall, you've only earned part of this. Chris Stigall, what do you think about this? Is this, I as a customer, I get politically why it makes sense for Trump, but I don't need more of these things swung in my direction and saying, hit tip because you're at Home Depot.
Well, but here's what we all understand. You don't want to be Europe. If you visited, you get served once and then they vanish. And why? Because of this thing the left loves to do. And it's going on in California right now. Let's just raise the minimum wage. Let's give everyone a living wage. You talk to any purple-haired, tatted up, pierced freak behind a bar who votes with the left and ask them, would you rather work for tips or would you rather have a flat $20 an hour gig here? And they will all tell you they'd rather work for tips. This makes sense to people who work in the service industry. It's just math. In California, people are losing their jobs right and left because we're going to give them all $20 an hour.
Yeah, by the way, the Gavin Newsom takeaway is we need to double down on this, not, hey, wow, we screwed it up. But no, let me get back to this, Chris, because you're evading. Are you given a tip when you walk up to the counter?
No, I mean, but see, there's a distinction between the barista who hands you a cup of coffee and somebody who's hustling to bring you your steak and refill your water. I see them as different. Right?
I do too. No, I agree. But I think that's the problem right now is that we've encouraged a society post-COVID that when you go to the counter, literally, I feel like you go to the supermarket now and they're turning around and like, hey, tip me. They actually do stuff. Jessica, since Chris is and Hilton are on one camp, where do you come down?
Yeah. I just think they need the dollar more than I do.
Yeah.
Like I know that sounds crazy, and I'm totally in agreement. You've done nothing, like you shouldn't get it. But I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, and I hate that they give you the minimums, right? You don't even get to fill it in anymore. It's like, well, what if I want to give $1? I don't want to start at $5, right? That annoys me. But I'm also like, they're working at Starbucks I don't go to Starbucks, but the coffee shop that I go to here in Old Town Misha's, like, they need it more than I do. It's $1. Like it'll be okay. Yeah. I know, but
I can't, and maybe it's Catholic guilt, but I can't not do it because I think that they're like, I don't know. Maybe it's just that God's looking. I don't know. But I always feel like they're staring at me and they're judging me. And that remember, they still have that like tea or drink or whatever it is before they get it. So they get to see what you left and they're like, okay, jerk.
So I up the prices of all the food, we can tip more, just FYI.
Listen, you don't think those owners, but anyway, this is all right. I want to move on to one other big one before we get to winners and losers, and that's this. The Veep stakes, Ben Carson was on yesterday. Great conversation with him. Politico's defined 8 candidates that they say are under consideration. Rubio, Burgum, Vance, Carson, who was on yesterday, Donalds, Stefanik, Cotton, Tim Scott. Let me just start with this, Chris Stigall. Do you think those are the only 8 people under consideration, and are you good with those 8?
Oh gosh, one thing I've learned is talking with everyone in Trump's orbit or people that at least claim to be. The name that I keep being thrown is none of those, and no, I don't think that they're the only ones.
Who's the name?
But are they all fine names? Sure, they're fine.
Wait, who's your name?
Oh, who's my name?
Yeah.
Who do I pick? I've told you before who I'd love, and it's not going to be her, but I want Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Okay.
That's who I want.
But do you think she's secretly being vetted and no one knows?
I would love that. I don't think that's happening, but that would be my secret desire, yes.
Okay. Jessica Anderson, can we confine your secret desire to VP picks? Because we've clearly seen that Stigall's life is very sheltered here. Why
do you hate workers, Sean? That's what we've learned about you. You hate the average blue-collar worker.
Damn them. Jessica, what do you think about the list of 8?
I don't think that's it. I think that there are other dark horses that are there. I think that the president wants to announce it around the convention or at the convention. I think that's probably smart for a number of reasons. I don't think we'll know until then. I actually think they will keep this secret, which is a good thing and a good thing for the family of whoever the vice president is, because that person's life is going to change dramatically. But here's my hot take, Sean. I don't think it actually matters that much from an election standpoint. I think it matters from a governing standpoint. So for the election, I think Trump can win this thing regardless of who is on the VP ballot. I think the support is so strong. The tactical changes for the operational ground game are in place. I think a VP, a smart move is a VP that unlocks more donor money that is sitting on the sidelines. And I think a VP move that shows that this is the kind of the manager or like the detail guy for Trump's vision. Like that's what I mean by governing. Like I think it matters in terms of who is going to operationalize and like deal with the behemoth of the government, which you and I saw in full force. Like that is someone that is either going to need to be like a strong businessman that can come in and understand, okay, Trump wants to get rid of the administrative state. Okay, I have to fire all these people and they need to actually be fired and not replaced, right? And those are you got to have a stomach to do that. And that's why I think there's more here than kind of the math play that the media is doing of like looking at electoral vote counts, and more about Trump thinking about who do I need as a partner to get this done the next 4 years.
I 100% agree. And I love the fact that that's why whether it's Stigall or myself, or I think that people who look at the mainstream media keep talking about VPs electorally because that's what they're fed by the media, and they are dead wrong. They don't get it. They just don't understand what VPs do, but B, with Trump in particular. And you couldn't be more right. And I'm glad you said that. Hilton, are you surprised though, of the 8 that are supposedly the finalists, only one woman?
Not particularly. I mean, knowing Trump, he's not really looking at whether it's a woman or a man. I mean, I honestly don't. I'm not a huge fan of the female pick. I'd prefer one of the guys. I'm leaning more towards a JD Vance. But if I could have like my wish list candidate, it would be someone like, and it's not going to be it because it would be stealing too much, star power. But would be someone like Elon Musk. I think we need like 2 business dudes in the White House to really get everything in shape. I think it would be unreal.
Oh, God, you just make that a reality TV show and you'd get rid of the entire debt in 8 seconds.
Like government isn't already a reality TV show.
No,
we're already there.
We're just not charging for it.
Yeah.
All right, I want to wrap up by doing some winners and losers. Chris Stigall, who do you have?
Winner, Caitlin Clark. She continues to ascend. When the WNBA should be applauding her and hoisting her up on their shoulders, they continue to attack her and just make her star bigger. And I love the way she's comporting herself and rising above it, and doing great things for the sport and encouraging kids that character matters more than this kind of petty showboating that's going on in the sport. Loser, Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who just, he can't stand upright generally. The D-Day speech of last week and into this week was maybe his lowest point yet, standing there frozen at the concert. He looks bad and getting worse.
Cheap fake. By the way, the Caitlin Clark thing, I'm glad great call on that. I will tell you, you can tell she's not Irish because I would be going nuts on these people who criticize me after I brought them the ability to fly around in a private plane and up their economic well-being. It's like they are so bitter. Jessica Anderson, who do you got?
Okay. Winner is Condoleezza Rice for actually articulating, I know, controversial, and actually articulating in 90 seconds what school choice is about. I thought her interview question this week, where she actually got to the heart of school choice and how to talk about it, was fantastic.
So are you for school choice or not? We already have a choice system in education. If you are of means, you will move to a district where the schools are good and the houses are expensive, like Palo Alto, California. If you go across the street from Stanford, Palo Alto High has a performance arts center that looks like a smaller version of Stanford's. If you're really wealthy, you will send your kids to private schools. So who's stuck in failing neighborhood schools? Poor kids. A lot of them minority kids. So how can you say you're for civil rights? How can you say you're for the poor when you're condemning those children to not being able to read? By the time they're in 3rd grade, they're never going to read. So if you want to say that school choice and vouchers and charter schools are destroying the public schools, fine. You write that editorial in the Washington Post, but then don't send your kids to Sidwell Friends.
Loser is one of your predecessors, Sean, our current press secretary. I think that the White House press secretary is the biggest loser of the week when she basically tried to gaslight all of America, saying that, Biden's images that we've seen, in the last 48 hours are cheap fakes. They invented a brand new word. They take actually the seriousness of deep fakes and the concern that we actually all have that right now of what's going on online, specifically targeting young girls with this revenge porn situation. Like, it cheapens that. And so not only is she the loser of the week because she continues to lie, but she gaslights all of us into thinking we don't actually see what we see with our own eyes. And I think that's going to backfire. I really do.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's the loser of the week.
Strong picks. Hilton Beckham.
My loser and winner comes from the same story with the illegal alien tying up those 2 kids in broad daylight and molesting that one girl, and then, them finding him later. I think the loser obviously is him. That's too soft of a word. There's a special place in hell for him. But the winners being those neighbors who actually found the guy, and then when they did, they beat him up before they called the cops.
All right. My winner this week is the Front Row Joes. They are. I'm proud to be able to highlight them in this new documentary, frontrowjoes.movie. You can go to salemnow.com and watch it starting tomorrow. But I think that it's long overdue that we acknowledge who these people are. My loser of the week, and I'm glad no one took this, Mr. George Santos. It was bad enough when he was on Cameo, right? So he's telling people, for whatever, a couple $100, he would do a shout out. They were funny. He's now, this is the tweet, just so we see this. The moment you've all been waiting for on hashtag OnlyFans, you will get the full behind the scenes access to everything I'm working on. See you there. I don't know that I want to see any more there. I've seen enough. That's it.
One thing we've learned about you is he's not getting any tips from you.
That's right. I don't think he's going to get any. Dude, what the heck? Who thought that was a good idea? I mean, you are at rock bottom when you think that you want to go to see George Santos on OnlyFans.
I don't know what he's doing there, but I hope it's putting more clothes on.
I know.
Not the opposite that usually goes on over there.
So, oh God. I can't, no, I'm just not even going to start there. Anyway, thank you guys for being with us. As always, I love panel day. It's so much fun. As I mentioned, tomorrow, President Donald J. Trump, the full uncut interview that we had as part of this documentary, frontrowjoes.movie. Go check it out. But tomorrow, the uncut interview at Mar-a-Lago with President Donald J. Trump. Continue to subscribe on Rumble, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great night. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.